Was that 0?
Yep.
All right, sorry, I guess I lagged out. Hey, everybody. Thank you for being a part of this. This is making games to change Hawaii in a fun way. We're Theorycraftist Games. My name is, we'll do our intro first and then we'll go back. My name is Jeffery Viera. I'm a software developer and I've been building games forever professionally and as a hobbyist. I teach a game design class with Alika and Jack. Alika and Jack, would you introduce yourselves?
Yep. I am Alika Spahn Naihe. I am an artist and a game designer. And I've been working with Jeff for past couple years and Jack for the last 3. Yeah.
Yeah, wow. Time is going by, man.
Yep.
And I'm Jack Hobbs, and I'm the apprentice of these two masters. I was their student and became now one of their teachers on teaching game
One of
development.
our teachers?
One of the teachers.
I got you, buddy. So this is a little outline of what we're going to do today. We're going to talk about really the Depressing Game, but to get there, we're going to talk about some projects that we're very proud to share, and that'll put some context of what we do here in Hawaii. And then regarding the Depressing Game, we're going to walk you through our development cycle that we use pretty much for every game, though, right? Is that fair to say, Alika and Jack?
Yep.
Yeah.
Pretty much. Yeah, sometimes the mechanics comes before the theme, but yeah. So we'll walk you through that development cycle, and then we're going to go to Q&A after that. If you have any questions that you guys want to ask us, that's the perfect time to do so. And then we're going to end with a contact email for us if you want to collaborate. Well, right now we're actually pretty booked to the summer, but I mean, yeah, we're happy to collaborate in some way. All right, so that's who we are. Okay, so let me begin with a little outline of the way we do our projects. And this is kind of the criteria and the pillars that we use. So the first pillar really is our projects are generally based around community issues, and these are issues that our students are faced with, students that we're faced with, something that really they're passionate about, some kind of a change or something like that. We take that and we try to gamify that. So that's community issues and passion. Innovation. So whatever we're building, we only build it if we can build it one step further. Can we innovate on this deck builder? Can we take this existing genre in some way and change it up and kind of make it our own and actually ingrain it into the culture somehow? I should have put cultural as well as innovation. And then last and finally, can this be a game? So whatever the project that we are, that you're going to see this gamut of things that we've built, that we've somehow taken something like pregnancy and then somehow kind of molded it into a gamified way. So that's really our pillars of how we frame our projects. All right, first project is going to be by me. All right, yeah, that's me. So Huli is a game that we started building about 10 years ago, actually, when I first started at the university. And what it is it's a board game, but thematically, this board game is sent into the past, much like Trunks and Dragon Ball Z, if we got any Dragon Ball Z fans out there. But the board game is sent to the past to our time to kind of alter the course of time, because in the future, it's a very not post-apocalyptic. We don't like to use the term post-apocalyptic. It's kind of this tried, and it's kind of goes into this trope. But if you kind of fast forward the way things are right now, what we're leading towards, that's kind of the future that this game belongs to. So some kumus you can kind of see on the far right image there. Kumus has figured out that, so kumus means teacher in Hawaii, in Hawaiian. Kumus have figured out that board games is the best medium to teach and to teach wisdom and to pass on knowledge. And it also flies under the radar of surveillance, right? It's like this analog medium. So the game was sent to the past, and it's this game about taking on the roles of these avatars throughout history and cleaning eha and hurting the community. So that's Huli. All right, Alika.
All right. This project is called Aole PVT. In Hawaiian, Aole means no. So the brief summary of the backstory behind this game is that in the community of Nanakuli on the west side of Oahu, the island of Oahu in Hawaii, there was the community was promised a park, and they ended up getting proposed a landfill by the PVT company. So through a bunch of shenanigans with the state and whatnot. So the students wanted to express their feelings about this whole situation, and we ended up making an allegory for the situation. These 4 pictures represents the 4 factions that are in the game, that star in the game. And the game is about negotiation so that each faction can work together to find a solution rather than battle it out, because yeah, it's just it never ends up well when that happens. So on the left, that represents the community of Nanakuli. That is the Kupu. So they are the tree people. They come from the land, they live off of the land, and they return to the land. So that's the representation for the local group. Next is the only humans in the game. They're called the Haumia. In Hawaiian, Haumia means desecrated, barren land. And just like us, you know, they're not trying to do anything bad. They're just trying to do their best and survive in the land, but they don't do the greatest things sometimes, and they will hurt the environment. Next to them is the cloud people. They are called the others. So they represent the people within our island and in our communities that aren't really affected by anything that happens. They kind of just float around, and they're full of hot air, and that's why we made them clouds. Next is the kaulike. In Hawaiian, kaulike means balance. And so they represent what the state would be ideally, which would be the balance that keeps everything fair and equalizes for everybody. They manage everybody. And just like water finds its own balance. The state would help to clean out whatever doesn't belong and to nourish whatever does belong. So they represent, and the way they move together and act together, that's how they come out to a beneficial result for everybody throughout the game. Next is Ha'avina. So in Hawaiian, Ha'avina means lesson. So this game was created in conjunction with Caring for Hawaii Neonates. Our good friend Leilani Kahoano, she proposed us this game or this idea, and we decided to come up with a game where we wanted to help expecting Hawaiian mothers make good decisions regarding their children, their unborn children. And so in Hawaii, we're an agricultural society, all the way from way back how we started in Polynesia, throughout the rest of Polynesia. So mahi'ai are farmers in Hawaiian. And in life, we're all mahi'ai, we're all farmers, trying to make the best of every circumstance that we receive to have a good crop of kalo or taro, which is the Hawaiian staple food. But we are also the kalo. We're also the taro because we're results of our own decisions. And if we're blessed enough to have children and raise children, then they become our kalo as well. And we teach them to become good mahi'ai. And so this game is all about that. And so it takes place within a lo'i kalo or a taro patch. And you make the best decisions based upon the circumstances you get in each round to get the best crop that you can get.
So excited to do this.
Yeah, this is our current project. So our current project is called Ho'akawa. It's a game about war. And the reason we called it Ho'akawa is because Hawaiians don't have a word for enemy. In the Hawaiian language, we have words for friends, we have words for partners, companions, but not enemies. So this is the breakdown of the word for adversary or companion in war, Ho'akawa. So the prefix Hoa is used when we talk about anybody who is a close acquaintance or an intimate partner in something that is happening. So not intimate like that, but intimate partner in something that's happening. So we would say, if we want to call somebody a friend, we would call them Hoa Aloha. So a partner in love, a partner in companionship. In this Ho'akawa, kawa is the word for war in Hawaiian. So you are a partner in war. And it's just illustrating the fact that in the ancient Hawaiian cultural perspective, you are not looking at somebody else that you're battling as an enemy, as somebody less than you, as somebody who does not deserve dignity as a human being. They're a partner in what you're doing. You're both equal. You're both warring. So yeah, we're really excited about that project. It's in development right now. I'm just coming up with the sketches. So to the left is a concept sketch that I made last night, representing one of the chiefs that are starring in the game. And here is a smattering of a bunch of projects that we do with all of these people that have great ideas and big aspirations, but just can't figure out how to make that a real thing in the world. And that's what we do. So they come to us with their big ideas, we make a game out of it. So on the far left is Nalovale Mo'olelo, and that is an alternate reality game that we played through Facebook, where we had players go through somewhat of a scavenger hunt, where they have all these cryptic messages that would come out every week, and they would figure out the code that's hidden within those messages and go to different places virtually throughout Hawaii and take a picture and go ahead and try and compete for points. Underneath that is a game that Jeff created, an ARG, augmented reality game, where students would go around Nanakuli High School and solve a murder mystery based on multiple items throughout the school. In the middle, I'm sure you've all seen that sign. If you haven't been living under a rock, 2019, 2018, there's Kukia'i Mauna. And everybody heard about that, the battle between TMT and the Mauna Kea protectors. So that game, that symbol is actually within a game called Akamai that just got completed. We're finishing up some post edits right now. It's a Hawaiian trivia game, but it's way more than that. That would be the general description of it. Basically, it's got the whole culture, all the facts of the culture within the game, and you play and you learn about what it means to be Hawaiian and live in Hawaii. And underneath that, you'll see the two pictures in the middle, the bottom row. Those are concept drawings from a project that I'm working on with Icon Games. Their logo is up on the top right. They're a local game development company that specializes in video games, and we're making a game about Hawaii, what Hawaii would look like in the future if something happened and everybody forgot about Hawaii and we're left isolated and we had to survive on our own once again. So that's what it would look like. In the middle is a concept I made of a completely self-sustaining community within one building. It's a giant building, and it's got at the very top there's a cloud condenser that has all the water, gets all the water and sends it throughout the whole building. You're growing plants. There's hydroponics going on every floor of the building. So you've got your food, your water, your shelter all in one place. Next to that is a concept of the future Hawaiian warrior. That is the feminine energy. So there's a masculine and a feminine version of this future Hawaiian warrior. And they're made from a material that we've created, kind of like vibranium from Marvel. Ours is called Pele's hair. It's an obsidian metallic alloy that reacts to the consciousness of the user. And yeah, that's a little smattering of the projects that we've worked on and are working on right now. Experiencing some technical difficulties.
Yeah, sorry about that. All right.
No problem. No problem.
Yeah. Whoa.
Oh.
There we go.
All right.
Sorry.
Okay. And finally, this is a virtual reality project that I've been working on with Purple Mai'a, which is another local organization that creates all kinds of cool projects for the focusing on the Native Hawaiian culture. So these are a couple of pieces. So these are all in virtual reality. So when you have the goggles on, say for example the top centerpiece, that mountain is a mountain in this experience, and this is all centering around a very special place on the island of Oahu called Ka'ala Farm. So every island has its mauna, or its main mountain. Very important piece of Hawaiian culture is that every island has its mauna. So for Big Island, you know, the mauna is Mauna Kea. For Oahu, the mauna is Ka'ala. So that's our oldest volcano. That's the highest spot on the entire island. And a very special man named Eric Enos decided to go into the foothills of Ka'ala, and he found all of these ancient lo'ikalo or taro patches, and he decided to revitalize it with the help of a bunch of his friends, and he's been doing this since the 70s. So now it's about 2,000 acres of land where he is trying to bring back the ancient practice of farming kalo, farming the taro, because that is a staple food and a basic fundamental part of what it means to be a Hawaiian culturally. So all of these pictures are all pieces within the virtual reality project that will focus on what makes Ka'ala special. And we're trying to this route to introduce Ka'ala to the younger generation, because Uncle Eric's getting old. Everybody is moving forward. Time just keeps moving on. And so we want to find new students and new great wonderful minds that want to put their hands into the dirt and continue the legacy that Uncle Eric has left behind.
Whew. That was pretty emotional, brother. Thank you. Okay, so that is a snapshot of projects that we've been working on, and we just wanted to kind of lay the foundation of what we do and that range of some of the collaboration that we've been working with. And then now we're going to go into the Depressing Game. So Depressing Game is going to be the meat of the conversation of what we're having today, and we're going to walk through the development cycle for the Depressing Game. And really, the Depressing Game is just a social deduction game where you as players are taking on the role of high school students, having to manage various depressing states of mind throughout our day of high school. And it was a way for us to really explore this topic, which Jack is going to go into in a second, about high school depression, like this really safe medium to talk about something that is plaguing every school across the country. So, Jack.
Yes, so the Mauis, we're going to start off with the beginning. And what we always start off is a brainstorm with our students. In this case, I was one of the students, and my classmates was thinking of the next passion project we wanted to do. And two of our my other classmates, Caitlin and Ferry Lynn, wanted to talk about high school depression because they're passionate about it and they saw all the struggles for themselves. And throughout this whole initial concept of ideals, depression kept coming up. So we started to make concept mechanics and concept art, which is shown on the pictures down below. And reason why we start off with the Mauis is that it really allows us to shape the world so that we not just the developers could understand it, but the players can understand it even more. So their experiences are both jointly attached and they're fluently apart to have their own magic happen.
Yeah, I mean, that's really always the argument. Like, I go to a lot of these like board game design conferences and stuff. It's always what is first, thematics or mechanics? There can be part of the egg, this heated debated battle. So I wasn't sure put them both by each other for this presentation. Yeah, but anyway, so yeah, we usually start with theme first, and then theme gives us a goal, and then it informs the mechanics. The mechanics is really the vehicle to get to that goal. So fortunately, and I'm not gonna lie, some of these are definitely from Envoy. I am an Envoy member, but we've got about a 3,000 game library source material that our kids have access to, and that's where we do our research, and that's what we did in this case. So we established the theme, we established what Jack said, what I mentioned earlier. Now we needed to find some kind of mechanics to get us there, and that's where we arrived. We arrived at the social deduction game. And social deduction game, I feel, is one of the best party type games that you can use. It's something that players can jump in quickly without having to read a lot of rules and get acquainted to the system. So that's where we arrived at with game mechanics. Is we created a social deduction game. All right, Alika on the art.
Right. So to create the art for this game, what I did was I just grabbed all the students and told them, tell me something that makes you happy, tell me something that makes you sad. And I wrote them all down on the whiteboard. And then what we did was we ended up categorizing them and scaling them from 1 to 5 in terms of severity. So 5 happy would be just overbearing joy, just you can't even function, you're so happy. and then 5 sad would be super depressing. So here's an example of some of the cards, some of the art. So a level 1 happy. This is Caitlin being depicted here. Oh yeah, and all of these images are our actual students, and we covered their faces with these happy or sad masks. So
Yeah, so you have to do the waiver, right? Yeah, that was like this
Yeah.
creative
So
way that that we
that's
got
how we
around
got out
that.
of the legalities for
Yeah,
showing their
yeah,
likenesses, right? So they know that's them. They're immortalized forever in a game. So
yeah.
happy level 1 is Caitlin there playing. She said that playing with stray cats that appear around her house makes her just brightens her day. So that's a happy level 1. And then there's a happy level 3, which is Jack. He loves to read, and I made the book olive green because it's probably military history. So you can see the gas
I
pump
didn't know
pouring into
that.
his head.
I didn't know that.
You see the
Oh,
gas pump pouring into his
Hilarious, man.
head from the book. And then we move on to sad cards. Sad level 5 for Jack. That was one of his things. He felt like the military was his only way. No dig on the military, but he felt like the military was his only way to find a career and a future. And so, and that's a common story in the West Side in Nanakuli. So he felt like that was his only way out, and he didn't really want to go. His mom didn't really want him to go, but he felt like that's what he was going to do. And now you can see he's here with us, and we're doing something that he really enjoys. The next card, the last one to the far right, that's Caitlin again. That is an image of isolation. So you see all of these happy people surrounding you, but ignoring you because they want to be brought down by your bad mood, and she's in the middle feeling very alone, like the spotlight is on her, but nobody's looking at her.
Very cool, man. So the final circle in our development cycle is playtesting. So we did some extensive playtesting, and part of our playtesting, we're privileged to. So we have several different gaming conventions in Hawaii. One of them is KawaiiCon, and we did some playtesting with some high school students that happened to be there as well. And it was just really cool to see how they could relate to the source material. Like, I'm an old man, Alika's almost an old man. Jack is
Older
becoming an old man, older man. But I mean, it was so relevant. It was really cool to see, and that's really what you want from play test. Well, I mean, I guess I should frame that. There's different reasons for play testing, but that was really what we wanted to. Our goal in this play test was like more than anything, how does this connect to other high school kids? Because that was really our target audience. And I'm happy to say it really did. It really did. They got the images, they got the mechanics, they were laughing, but somehow being sad at the same time. It was this really cool dichotomy. All right, Alika.
All right, and this is a demonstration. So we have this convention called Schools of the Future that we go to, usually go to every year. And for this demonstration, we wanted the participants, which are educators and just people who work in the educational field all around Hawaii and around the world. So they come in and watch our presentation, and we had them participate in this. So we split them up into teams, and you see there, one of the participants is holding a card. So it's a version of those cards that we had made for the Depressing Game. So we had them come together split up as a team, and then they would come together, choose a representative, and play their card. And so what I wanted them to do was wanted them to play their card and then tell a story corresponding to the level of happy or sad that is on the card. And this ended up being a huge success, a very memorable presentation for everyone present. There were tears, people were crying. These are all strangers, and we all show up in the same room, and they show these very deep emotions with very, very deep stories that they had to go along with it. And the main point of this was to show them that this is the kind of stuff that high school students are working with every day and doing with each other. So the bottom line is that a lot of people call kids small adults, but that's not true in my experience. That from what I've learned working with young people, they're not small adults. Adults are just big kids. And so they got to see this and relate to the students in this way, in a very visceral way. So I was really happy with how all of this turned out.
Yeah, it was super cool. That was one of the most visceral experiences I've ever had. Was molding the game to this interactive experience. All right, I think that's gonna be it. I think we got 5 minutes left, right?
Oh, so
Mickey,
questions?
Yeah. Any questions?
do you have any questions? Oh, really? I thought it was 30 minutes. Oh,
Okay.
oh
Hour long,
shoot!
folks.
Let's restart. Oh my gosh!
Beautiful.
How did we get 30 minutes, Jack?
I don't know. Okay.
All right, well, we got 30 minutes of questions. Any questions? I'm
All
sure we're
right,
like
folks.
over here racing and like truncating things. We're like we had so much stuff we wanted to talk about. We like condensed it and then like practiced it over and over. We got like, oh, we gotta curb
Well,
that. We
good.
gotta
We get
take
to
that
talk to
out.
people. This is good.
Well,
Yeah,
it was
indeed.
really good, but
Yeah.
Let's do it.
you know what? Let me ask some of the questions that have been in chat. So Jason Morningstar
Okay.
actually has been asking a few questions here. I'm going to start with the top one. Can you talk about play within your specific cultural context? Are there specific Hawaiian values around play and playfulness that make game design or delivery easier or harder?
All
I'm
right.
gonna throw this right to Alika.
All right. Well, a key tenet in Hawaiian culture is excellence. Excellence is number one. So with that, we love games because games offer you an opportunity to continually get better and improve at whatever it is that you're doing. And so one of the favorite pastimes, perfect timing actually. Right now, it's called makahiki season. So you call it fall and winter in the U.S. in the continent. We call it makahiki season. So at that time, all of the work ceases. You don't harvest kalo, or you don't farm, you don't fish, you don't do any of that. And this is in ancient times, you don't do any of that. But what you do is you just play games for an entire 3 months. You play games so that you get excellent at whatever it is that game has to do with. So a lot of the games that we used to play were strategy games, such as Konane, which is a Hawaiian version of Go. So it's a game that Ali'i or royalty used to use to they would play games over entire territories and kingdoms, gambling pretty much. Like if you can excel in Konane, you can get an entire kingdom. So it's a big deal that you're good at games in Hawaiian culture. There's also a lot of physical games, sports. So you do spear throwing, this game called Ulumaika, where you're just trying to roll a stone between two sticks that are in the ground about a fist apart, and you try and roll this stone straight through those sticks from 30 yards away, and it shows your excellence in aim and your coordination. There's so many different games. There's a game called Hey. I think you guys call it Cat's Cradle. It's a string game. And that game is where you're practicing your dexterity and your memory. So with every single figure of that game, there is an entire chant that you would recite that tells a story about every figure that you're making. And within every figure is some important feature about the culture. So there's a figure that talks about the foundations of building a home. There's a figure that talks about the gods. There's a figure that talks about why it's important that you remember the four major gods because they are the foundations to the culture. So there's all these different things, and every single game that we play has something tied into the culture to remind you. So first and foremost, memory is a huge skill. That's a big skill in the Hawaiian culture because it's an oral culture. So our language was not written down before the missionaries came. Everything was all from your memory. So all of these games have to do with fortifying your memory and remembering why you're playing the game, not just that you're winning or losing or whatever. The games have to do with your culture. So that's what it has to do with Hawaiian culture. And sorry, what was the second half of the question?
Second half was, are there specific values around play and playfulness that make game design and delivery easier or harder?
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, for us, it definitely makes it easier because we're focusing on the why. Because there's I told Jeff this one time. I feel like there's two different types of people when it comes to gaming. There's a type of person that wants to know how to win, and then the other type of person wants to know why we're playing the game to begin with. What's the point of the game? And I think the people who ask what the point of the game is and why we're playing the game are the ones who enjoy the game the best and eventually excel at the game because they understand the underpinnings of playing, period. And I think that's in Hawaiian culture, and that's kind of within us as designers who work on the west side. So in the west side of Oahu, that is the highest concentration of Hawaiians you will find anywhere in the world. So that culture is everywhere. That is part of the west side of Oahu. And so I think that makes it easier because everybody there has this this playfulness within them. Everybody. We joke around. It's either verbal playfulness, physical playfulness, or we just like to play games. It's just part of the culture on that side. So I think very fitting that we decided to teach students how to play games on that side of the island.
Yeah, I don't have anything to add to that.
Yeah,
Perfect. I was going to mention the makahiki. I was like, all right, you go, brother.
All right, I'm going to go on to the next question here. Can you talk about abstraction versus realism? It seems like a lot of these games abstract real life issues rather than confronting them directly. Why did you make that choice?
Wow. Yeah.
Great
Did I start?
Sure.
Yeah.
So that's a wow. Yeah, this is a really good conference. We normally don't get this guy. I guess gamers. We're hanging around gamers now. So we oftentimes will obfuscate the real message of the game, and we try to do this in a way so that the players can actually arrive. So like as the designers and the students, we know exactly what this game is about. And then when we do these presentations and things like that, we just go right to the core. This is a game about high school depression. This is a game about saving the community, etc., etc., etc. But as you play the game, these thematic choices you have to really kind of just discover and then have the players. And it's not so abstract that we're playing just pure abstract. Like there is some theme and some setting and whatnot, but the real core of what we're talking about and what we're really trying to articulate and the message that we're trying to bring across can only truly be discovered in gameplay. Really good example is that PBT game. So that PBT game, we kind of glossed over it. But those four members, they're at war with each other. Essentially, they're at war. The community, the others, which feet don't touch the ground. They are the citizens of affluence here on the island, and it's a very sensitive subject. Where at first we were like, we're just going to call them out. We're just going to call them the state. What's the state in here? We're called. But then as we were building, it's like, it's kind of weird. Is what does the state look like, right? How do we represent the state? So we thought that, again, we can go back to our cultural values. Like, how do we represent the state in a thematic way to kind of still distill what they are, right? Like they're just trying to maintain balance, trying to please, essentially, right? And then, like, I think a really good representation, like Alika mentioned earlier, like the others, they're in the clouds, they're looking down on the island, their feet does not touch the ground. They are not a part of whatever is happening. If there's a catastrophe that happens on the island, they're essentially unaffected by that. So I think through our games, the real point of the game is really only apparent once you really kind of start playing the game. Is that fair to say, Jack and Alika?
Yeah, completely honest.
Okay, Jack, do you want to chime? Yeah, please go right ahead, brother.
The best example in this case is the Depressing Game. A lot of the cards artwork, you will probably get emotions from them, even if you not even heard of the story. And you probably common sense dictates that these emotions are obviously actions that was taken from these characters or that was being taken on these characters, depending on what card it's from. And so a lot of times those big lessons like high school depression is not really as abstract as you may first think. This presentation is a very good example of how important artwork can be in showcasing how directly impactful the issue is. The good card showed them happy, while the side card showed them sad. Easy as that.
Yeah. I think what's really important, just to kind of like bring this conversation one step forward. I think it's really important to us. I mean, so I'm as hardcore as a gamer as you could pretty much get. So when I play games, like there needs to be a marriage between the mechanics and the theme. And what I mean by that is like as I'm playing the mechanics, the mechanics has to really inform how this theme is set up, right? So when we're developing the game, we are really thinking about, so like that prime example, another example is that Havina game. Like this is like a pregnancy game. Like we made this game about like going through the trimesters and essentially getting wisdom from these community leaders, you know, through these cards, and figuring out like an abstract puzzle, right, through these good and bad decisions to make good decisions so that you have a healthy child, right? We were brought on for that product. So as we're building this solo game, you know, essentially it's like this solo game, it's got this meditative practice that mothers could play. Like we were really, and then thankfully we had, you know, Alika mentioned our Auntie Leilani. So in Hawaii, you know, everybody's pretty much our aunties, uncles, and you know, it's just this symbol of respect that, you know, we call someone. Like there's this close connection and bond with everybody here. So she's not literally my auntie, but she is kind of literally my auntie. So she is a nurse practitioner in the neonatal sector, and she was informing us on, you know, what actually happens, and we were kind of like cringing at certain parts, and then we had to take that information, like put it into this kind of abstract puzzler type of game, but at the same time make sure that those mechanics and those things that we're doing feels like decisions that a mother would make. And that's a very important word we often bring up time and time again, is like of course balance, but not how balance is this game, but like how does this feel? How does this feel playing this game? Does it feel okay? Is does the marriage of the mechanics and the theme feel, do they gel together? And that's kind of where our compass kind of leaves, right?
Yeah, yeah. The feeling is kind of what it's all about. Because if it doesn't feel good, you're not gonna play it. So just like we all know that eating certain foods is good for us, but does it feel good to eat it? You know, so what feels good is pizza and
It's good
beer. I
after.
mean, I'll tell you that right
Yeah,
now. I'm
yeah.
probably gonna have some tonight. But there's certain things that we want to do where we're giving nutrition, but we want it to feel good as well. So um, we you want to keep going, Jeff?
No, I was just gonna say, man, that was such a good question. That was really,
Mm-hmm.
really good. It's like,
Okay. So I have a little an answer about that. Yeah, I like abstraction and allegory because I feel like it moves the facts out of the way just long enough for understanding to creep in.
mm,
You know, with abstraction, for example, the best feedback that we got that I personally remember from the Depressing Game was that when the kids were playing, they were sharing stories about um, other things that happened within that, a 3-level sad or a 3-level happy. They were sharing stories about that, and while they were playing, they were able to be honest about their emotions without feeling weird about it because they're playing a game. The game becomes a platform if it's abstract enough. The game becomes a platform for reality to actually take place. And I feel like the understanding and the emotions that you get from playing in a game, even if it's abstract, is what makes it real. And that's the real benefits, because it really benefits you after playing. It's almost like therapy when you play that game, because you get to talk about stuff without worrying about, you wouldn't just bring up a depressing time in a normal conversation. But when you play this game, it's a good time and you can bring this kind of stuff up. So that's why I like abstraction.
really philosophical here. I love it. I love it.
Yeah, Jason says that you folks are really on his wavelength regarding abstraction versus realism. It's refreshing to hear about your choices and experiences.
Thank
He
you.
also asked, he loves how localized and specific the games are. For games that are designed to change behaviors, like the pregnancy neonatal game, are you evaluating their effectiveness?
So we are. So for that one specifically, we are going to be doing a series of tests, like infill tests. So part of this game is to collect impact and data. So we're actually going to be working with nurses and mothers through the Hawaii for Hawaii caring for Hawaii neonates. We'll be collecting data on the result, and having some kind of a survey or some kind of a metric that we can see, like what the result of this game. And that was actually part of the intention why we were brought on, is to create this game, yes, absolutely, but then kind of see what the outcome is, from mothers and nurses actually. So nurses are going to be playing this game also, and kind of see what the result is for that.
Yeah. And with the Depressing Game, the data that we got pretty much was feedback. I totally forgot to mention, just because you mentioned that question, changing behavior. Totally forgot to mention, in the game, because it's a social deduction game, it's a 4-player game. You have 3 happy players and 1 sad player. It's a secret
Yes.
role that those 4 cards are shuffled and passed out to the players before the game starts, and you have to play as that role. So the point of it is for the 3 happy players to make the depressed player feel good again, or for the depressed player to make everybody depressed. And the only way you're going to find that out is by playing the game and watching the way everybody plays. So if a happy card wins the game, the happy players win. If a sad card wins the game, or if there's a tie, the sad player wins, the depressed player wins. So you have to watch the way people are playing in order to see, what role they are, and to try and either stop them or to help them out, depending on what your role is. So with that, it's teaching players to pay attention to the kinds of stories that their friends are telling. What are they talking about? Are they always sad? Are they always talking about something sad? Maybe you should pay attention to them. Maybe you should pay attention to what's going on. Maybe they just want attention. Maybe they're really going through a really hard time right now, and maybe you should ask about it and see what you can do to help them out. So yeah, the games that we make, we get feedback most of the time as data, but like Jeff was mentioning, I'm really excited to get into the data collection of this Ha'avina game.
Yeah,
To be working with nurses. Yeah.
and then, well, just to mention briefly, again, it just seems improbable what all this other is. So we're actually making this other simulation game where we're putting 50 students into a survival simulation, and the hypothesis is that if we put 2 classes together, or it again, sort of post-apocalyptic, non-coolly. So this is going to be a video game, and kind of like a SimCity-esque type of video game, but we're actually making representations of the students in this game and run the simulator. They think right now, like, oh, we just kill the other side. We steal all their stuff, and then we can live forever. So if we build this correctly, and we're in the process now, we just went through our third class. We build this correctly, they'll arrive at, we have to work together to move forward into the future. That if we keep thinking this is a zero sum thing, we can go over there, steal all their stuff, then we're not going to have enough labor to raise the farm animals and or food that we need, or to help maybe somebody on the other side plays music, and then we need music to boost our morale, and vice versa. So for that game, we're actually specifically going to be I guess we can say it. We're going to be working with West Oahu University to actually look at the data that students are doing, what kind of decisions that they're making in this digital world, to kind of see, right? So we can like move that slider 10 years out. What kind of choices did they make in that, and kind of look and quantify it and be like, wow, these are teenagers thinking? These are the kind of decisions that they're making. So that's another example of how we're looking at collecting data, from a game. And kids don't really know that yet, though. We haven't really told them that we're collecting their. Are we going to tell them? Probably not, right?
If they
Gosh,
watch the
it's
stream
game
right
data.
now, they
Yeah, all right,
probably know
okay,
it. So spoiler alert if you're from Nanakudi.
Yeah, right. We're like, Mr. V, what? You guys Facebook? No, we're not doing that. All right, sorry. Next question. I love it.
All right. Next question is, are there topics or themes that are relevant to the Hawaiian community that you would like to like to approach, but either can't or won't touch?
Ooh.
Oh,
So any kind of like kapu, we would call it that, like kapu. Um, what do you think, Alika? I mean, that we would want to do, because I mean, I think we're all in the same life. So if there's something that I'll speak to this. So when we're making, there was a slide earlier where we're making that Nanakuli Paranormal Investigators augmented reality game. So the way that game works is we would interview the community and find out all these stories, like all these, like who died when, where did they die, and then through the game you would use this app to go back in time and investigate all these murders that happened and kind of solve this puzzle throughout time. So we were doing that. Again, these aunties come to, guys, can I be using these names of these people that which is like, what, really, why not? Oh yeah, then you are messing with some stuff out there. You got to respect the name of these people that have passed. And I was like, oh, of course we have to do that. So then we changed it. So what we actually did, just to kind of finish the story, is we made fake news sites online. Might actually still be out there if you Google it. Yeah, so we like kind of planted all these like fake websites that look like articles, but of course there was the World Wide Web in the 40s to 50s. But it was as if there was a news site in the 40s and 50s where you could find out these clues in the game that were based on fictitious murders that happened around campus. But that was really the only experience. I think you wouldn't touch those subjects that were taboo or kapu rather, because like the things that we do, we want to make sure that we're being respectful to our culture in every way, and there's really nothing I think that we wouldn't touch otherwise, right, guys?
Yeah, I think it's more so about respect. So there's really nothing we can't talk about as long as we approach it respectfully. But there are things like
Yep.
I know I would love to make a game about Lua, the Hawaiian martial art, but in order to talk about that, I'm gonna have to practice it, and in our culture, the kumu or the teacher will find you when you're ready. So they'll see when you're ready to learn, and they will approach you to teach you something. So if I want to make a game about Lua, I can't make a game about Lua until I am practicing Lua, and I approach my kumu respectfully and tell him that I want to make a game. So, and just certain things like that, very specific little things like that, I probably wouldn't touch it. But yeah, pretty much everything else, as long as we're willing to respectfully approach the subject, then we could probably make a game about it.
I would.
Yeah.
What
Typically
about like
think
the tourist problem over in Hawaii now?
Oh, we would just make that in a second. Yeah, I'd love to create a game about. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
So
so who I think another way to frame this. Sorry, real quick. I think another way to, like, who are we willing to make angry
Yeah.
when making a game? If it's our Hawaiian community, of course not. If it
Yeah.
has to do with problems like tourism, oh my gosh, yeah, no obfuscation there. Like we
They
would just
would
be like
love it.
straight up. Which we're actually, there was planning. Remember, we were gonna make like a Godzilla game that was like eating all these tourists.
yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, Jack. I interrupted you. Please
Go ahead, Jack.
continue, brother.
No, I'm used to it. But honestly, though, I think the best indication of how we did correctly was our first game, Huri. We tackle the overthrow of the monarchy. We tackle overpopulation, political corruption, all of these big issues. But we did it in a manner where we're asking all of the experts to make sure we're being respectful. We counted all of the history, both oral and on people, to make sure both sides are seen equally and seeing what was the impact of what the event had, that impact had for the West Coast. And in essence, on how the EHA, no matter how good of an event was or how bad it was, it will always produce EHA on the coast.
Eha means hurt for the
Yes.
translation.
Yeah.
And
Let me just add a little bit of context to that, Jack. Just if I could really quick. So when we were developing that game about a decade ago, pandemic was like super popular. So our students at the time was like, we got to make like a pandemic-esque type of game. So they were really thrilled by that mechanic of like spreading out, interesting enough. The state we're in now, yeah. But spreading out this kind of corruption. So the vehicle that does that in this game, what Jack is talking about, is these event cards. And these event cards will spread out how occurred in the community. Now those event cards are based on actual events that happen in Hawaii, good and bad. So we had to explore. So we actually went through the Star Bulletin, which is our newspaper here, these headlines throughout history, and kind of make cards out of those. Like, wow, okay, sugar plantation, they took more water combined than Boston over 15 years in 1 year. Like, whoa, okay. How do we translate that? We felt it. We got all like hurt and like wiped our tears, because we want to really feel the emotions of this card. And then so that's what that event means, and that's what Jack was meaning by spreading eha along. Sorry, Jack.
No. Yeah, I kind of forgot that I'm talking to people outside of Hawaii. So yeah.
Yeah.
No, you just talking to us. You just talking to us.
Yeah.
I'll chime in with the translations. No worries.
All
Of
right.
course you would.
Next question.
All right. What is your
Did we lose you, Andy?
give us a shocker sign?
Can you not hear us? Hold on. Let's see. Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Sure can.
Okay, so we're at about 8 minutes left. Only have one more question. What is your dream project?
Dream project.
Oh.
We have a lot of dreams. Everyone is a
one.
dream project in a sense. That's why
Yeah,
work
I don't
on it.
know. Our latest project is kind of but I mean, if if you could build, I mean, it's whatever's in front of us, man. I mean, really, we're really in a position where, so a lot of what we do is we work with community leaders that want to gamify what they're doing. With Poots and Kingdom of Gods. Just kidding.
Work with Poots.
Out there. Or Eric Lag? No.
Foxhole?
No. I mean, just for me, it's whatever the current project is kind of my dream project. Like there's nothing really I can. There's no big if only build this, because we just build it. We just make whatever insurmountable thing is in front of us. We just find a way to actually build it, right? I mean,
Yep.
Yeah.
I think Jack would be like, I love to do a military simulation game somehow.
No.
Jack would love that. I think I would for me personally, a dream project would be to create a game based on Hawaiian mythology, where we actually get to dive in to the depths of Hawaiian mythology. Because I mean, I know everybody knows about Viking mythology, so even like some Chinese mythology, Central or South American mythology, Egyptian mythology, but Hawaiian mythology is pretty epic, and I would love to show you guys in a game. Yeah, so that would be my personal.
But I mean, we are. But I mean, it's like on our list. It's like on our to-do list, right?
Yes, it is.
We are going to make a game about that at some point.
Yes, it is.
I think mine will be just expanding and taking the industry here, the gaming industry here, in a way where it's not seen as this outcast thing anymore, where it's a rival to the tourism industry. Because honestly, I see culture being more impactful in gaming than in tourism by 80 to 100 years.
Yeah.
And without gaming, we couldn't have all of these memories of our culture, of the Makahiki season. So I really want to reinstill that whole idea of gaming becoming one with the culture again, instead of seeing it as an outcast.
All
Awesome
right.
answer.
Let me take back. I had very cool, Jack. I have some time to kind of marinate. So my dream project would be a super heavy board game, and the theme would be essentially what we talked about, so that Hawaiians attempted to stop the overthrow from happening, but being played out like this really heavy Euro. So like, what happens if we did resist? Trying to help intervene like they said they would, like all this kind of historical stuff that was supposed to happen. So kind of like, for the gamers out there, kind of like a GMT kind of scenario. But what would happen if our queen said fight? Like that's day one, and then now as resistance fighters or whatever it is, we then start kind of fast forwarding to 2021 would be like the end state of the game, and kind of see and arrive like what would Hawaii kind of be back, right? Like kind of exploring that space in a board game. I guess that would be my dream game.
Right.
I think we're just about 4 minutes left. Just
Yeah.
wanted to mahalo you guys. Thank you so
Mhm.
much. This was an amazing opportunity. Thank you so much for letting us, speak to you all out there. We're so appreciative for giving us, a place and a voice to do this. Thank you.
Yes.
All
Mahalo
right,
nui,
folks.
everybody.
Tell us where we can find you and buy your stuff.
Theorycraftistgames.com.
.com and
Yep.
Or sorry, it's theorycraftist.com.
Theorycraftist.com. Yep. Theorycraftist.com, and then I think I put my email in here. Yeah, so here's our email, theorycraftist@theorycraftist.com. Yeah, I've been meaning to update the website, but I'm really busy making games. Well, we have a lot of products and all our stuff's on GameCrafter as well. That's who we use primarily. Alika's been using other means of distribution, like China and stuff like that for bigger orders. But pretty much all our stuff that we do in class is on GameCrafter. But yeah, this is the best way to get a hold of us. Yeah, thank you guys.
Mhm.